I've just been eating hot cross buns. Alright there, you yesterday's fluid from a liquid diet that failed your marriage. Oh gosh. I've been moisturising with extra virgin olive oil. The woman that cuts my hair. There's not a lot of it, so we tend to do a lot of talking. She's got to earn her money somehow. She advised me. She said that normal moisturiser gives you it's beauty tips really, this channel. Normal moisturiser gives you an external appearance of moisturisation, but actually dries your skin out. So I've been with the old after a bath and that, and so I'm learning what it's like to be a YouTuber. I was approaching 7,000 subscribers this week. Welcome to the newcomers. There's no newcomers here. Oh no. You know what? The nature of my content, it's unsurprising that, judging by the comments anyway, I have managed to bring together, excuse me, a collection of essentially drug casualties, the mentally ill, the desperate, the lonely, the depressed, the suicidal. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's lovely to have you all here. Relax, enjoy. But yeah, so there I am approaching 7,000. I was on another top 5. Oh, I've been in a few of them. And I was in at number 1, and I didn't expect it. A little bit of me watches those videos thinking, please the Lord, let me feature. And it got to like number 5, 4, 3, 5, 4. I used to like Thunderbird 2 myself. Anyway, I got to number 1 and I was doing something else. And I heard that familiar sound of wooden spoons on the back of a saucepan. I thought, that's that Dangerfield intro I've come to know and despise. Right out there with your fart engines. And yeah, a bloke called Iconoclast. I'll put his link in the description, a bit of payback. Anyway, so I was approaching 7,000 rapidly. And then one day I woke up, I'd lost over 200 subscribers. So of course I was like, ooh, all on Twitter, ooh, and then I found out everyone was like, yeah, YouTube does purges occasionally, inactive accounts. Probably something to do with bandwidth. I'm no techie, grabbing from the digital air I know not of. So I thought, all right, it's just a purge. And then it started going up to, I got to celebrate 6,000 twice in 5 days because it was like, and then they come back, and then I was going up again up to 7,000. I thought, sweet, bang, over 300 gone. I bothered to email YouTube's Ministry of Subscriber Deficiency Issues. About 2 hours after I emailed them, bang, 6,850. Sweet. I thought that's all right. Can't complain. They responded. Just gone onto my channel, 6,400. Someone's keeping busy anyway, playing ping pong with my ego. Anyway, this is a really off the cuff. I mean, most of my videos are off the cuff, but I'll usually make some notes just to get a sense of direction. But it's lovely. It's like Thursday. I've got not a lot of work to do tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm meeting the editor of my novel. I've been talking to him on the phone. He's a drug-crazed, nihilistic misanthrope. What luck. Put on to me by Will Self, of course. Oh, I'll keep dropping that. Bang, boom. Great fun. But, it's very, very rare for me to end up having 40, 50-minute telephone conversation. I don't like talking on the phone anyway, but me and him, we've been gabbing. Interesting bloke. And I'm looking forward to working with him. It makes sense if you get on with him, doesn't it? So yeah, I've got a meeting with him tomorrow. A little bit of other stuff to do, but essentially it's the weekend. I've got a meeting tomorrow night. Anyway, moaning. But basically the bulk of my work week is done. It's the fucking weekend, really. And so this is just a pleasure. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do without too much thought and preparation? Nice bloke, nice channel. What can I do? A very low effort. And some of you will remember when I went to Thailand, I knew I was going to be away for 8 weeks, and I knew I wasn't going to be making any content. So I set up I think it was a 7 or 8 parter about my relationships between ages, well, 2 particular relationships between ages 16 and 24. And a lot of interesting stuff was not it was sort of skimmed over, you know. There's 8 years I got into 7 or 8 videos there. But I think it's been long enough since it happened that I can talk to you about the pros and cons of stalking your ex-girlfriend. Now, if I'd learnt my editing skills now, at that point, it would have gone bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba 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 bam, with some images of me like, whoa, whoa, like down, trains, planes, automobiles, etc. But no, just me filling it in. Well, I'll try. The pros and cons of stalking your ex-girlfriend. Ba bam, ba bam, ba bam. Nah, time to put some work in. So, I was with a girl from age 16. The first true love of my life after mother. She was studying illustration at the art college I was at, and I was studying spatial design, which I still don't know what it really is. I think optimistically at a party at the time you'd say it was interior design, but not if you were in earshot of anyone else at the college, because they'd have gone, no, it ain't. It's called spatial design. It's nothing. But she was in illustration. Tiny, very tiny, beautiful girl. Sort of black bob down to there, a bit of a hippie. Sort of like Morrissey. Not really a hippie, but alternative. Not the sort of girl that you have many of. Not the sort of girl you have many of in my hometown. And she was very exciting and fucking gorgeous. And no. I mean, my old man had died 6 months before I met her, so there was a void. Life was on top, and you know, I'd left the womb of the family home to just be an alcoholic drug user at art college. And you know, in retrospect, she was going to save me. This shit still goes on. Oh, I'll meet a girl, I'll have one night out of her, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, she's going to save my life. She means everything. Yeah, oh yeah, all-consuming obsession for an object that has become a nexus of so many lacking elements of my life. It's a recipe for pain, of course, because they're not that. They're humans with their own desires, needs, wants. They're imperfect. They're problematic, and they are half of a relationship. Oh, can you stop it? The fuck is that? Yeah, they're not angels. They're not princesses. They haven't come down from upon high to rescue me from myself. But I will cast them in that role, and you know, I sometimes I can see it happening. Sometimes it's so overwhelming. Yeah, strange, and it's insulting to the person, of course, because they're obscured by fantasy. My fantasy sort of puts it puts stuff between us, stops me getting close, prevents intimacy, gives the appearance of being intimacy, but it's actually intensity. You know, it does a good disguise job, does a good cover-up, does a good imitation. But as humans, we need intimacy. Should I say we there? Should I say I? Is this we or is it I? Anyway, I was with her for 8 years, cheated on her all the time. Loved her as much as I knew how to love anyone. It's hardly love if you're cheating on them. But as soon as she was out of sight, she was out of mind, because I was desperate and lonely. And, you know, I was at art college and I was a young man. And I've said this before, but the statistics are good. The art college I went to in Devon, there was about 400, 500 students, maybe less than that. It was a performing arts college, you know, avant-garde, but still performance, still very gay. So more than half of the students there were women, girls. Of the remaining students, half of them were gay boys. Of the remaining students, half of them were middle-class fops. Of the remaining working-class boys, half of them were rank and ugly. Of the remaining two, I was one. oh, oh, there will be penis. there will be a purple pumping penis of mine. Shocking times. 3 or 4 ladies in a week, occasionally in a day. I remember having sex with 2 girls in 2 different piano rooms in the same afternoon. And even while I was having sex with the second one, who was engaged to a doctor in Newcastle. I said, this is a bit like deja vu. She was, why is that? I said, well, I just had sex with your roommate next door. Anyway, where were we? And, you know, as much as I give you that, with much bravado and a late teenage and sexual ambition and athleticism, the truth is, a lot of the time, especially after a night at the bar or a night on acid, I just want some company. I just want some, again, intimacy. I'd want someone to hold me and to love me from nowhere, out of the blue, for no reason, and yet didn't have the ability to communicate that. And sometimes I felt, nor did they, and you just end up fucking. And I can say for a absolute 100%, a lot of the time I'd be fucking them thinking, fucking hell, man, do we have to? Why do we have to do this? Yeah, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it was amazing, but a lot of the time it'd be like, oh, the athletics again. This is just exercise now. I was enjoying listening to music, talking about your upbringing, and of course, I didn't want to live this crazy double life. And I used to tell her, I used to say, look, I'm just like a child. I can't stop chatting up women and jumping into bed with them. And she'd be like, yeah, you're immature, blah 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 blah. But she didn't seem to want to leave me, and as much every time I left her, you know, I'd last about a day before, you know, she was the love of my life. And it was that first love. It was books of poetry, endless poetry, terrible poetry, you know, for someone now who I fancy myself as quite a good writer now. I mean, if you like my spoken content, imagine what it's like if I've got time to think about it. I mean, some would say that might affect it negatively. There's always consequence with time, but I think I'm pretty good. But then, vile, you know, I look back at them. I mean, there was a period of about 10-15 years when I look back at them just embarrassed, but you know, this was 25 years ago. I'm allowed to look at it now, and it's actually quite sweet. You know, it's so basic. It's someone who hasn't studied poetry, hasn't had a lot of life experience, pouring his heart out. I'm trying to think of some. You know, we'd spend an afternoon on a stony beach, and of course that night, what do you think I called that poem? You and me, one and each, as we sat on that stony beach. You tied your hair in a knot. I said, oh, I love you. You said, I've got to go home. It took 8 long months to land that girl. Whew. And I could not think about anything else. And I even transferred from my class into her class, at the risk of losing my place at art college. You know, they said, basically a space come up in illustration. I'd already failed to get into illustration because I applied for that course as well. And they said, you have already failed. What makes you think you're going to get in by applying again? I said, because I've seen the quality of your class and I've improved. And I used that libidinal energy of my obsession for her to secure a place in that class. You know, I did not stop drawing and sketching and painting and making scrapbooks. And finally, after 8 long months of spending time with her, sitting among the flowers, trying to present myself as something and someone that she... Oh, that's nice. There goes the light. Look at that. I only bought these fucking batteries. You know what? I reckon there might be a problem with my light because I've just recharged them both. I mean, it's symbolic, really, of the light that left my life. I'm not sure how long this one's going to work for. I think there's a problem with the light. I think it's great. Oh, this is great video making. Oh, this is entertaining. Now, I can't put it in the stand because I can't see. Oh, look at that. Right, that might turn off again. Anyway, finally got with her, and like I say, just cheated on her. 8 years, I mean, and some hideous stories as well. Like, there's one story where she ended up going to the art college that I was at before I went to Devon. So she ended up hanging around the art college that I had spermed all over. And she said she was at a party once and someone mentioned my name and they were all sort of laughing about what a weirdo I was. And someone went, apparently he's got a girlfriend somewhere. Imagine being her. Ouch. Anyway, I left her for a girl in Leeds. Now, I know a lot of you already know this, but for those of you who don't, I went up to Leeds to do a master's degree. I was taking a lot of speed. I was drinking too much. I had no money. I was actually walking around the streets looking for pennies on the floor. A seminal moment. I remember I was standing outside. There was a post office and a baker's. I had 30p on me, and it was a stamp to send a letter or a donut. And it took me about 20 minutes to work out. I was just looking at the two shops thinking, well, what's it going to be? You know, it's one or the other. That was the weekend shopping. It was a donut. And so I left her for this other girl, and I left her in such weak, cowardice circumstances. I told her, I said, I've fallen in love with this other girl. And she was like, oh, well, this is different. Usually you just want to fuck them, but this is different. And I was like, yeah. And then I just cried my eyes out all night. And then I rung her back the next day. I went, listen, of course I haven't fallen in love with her. I'm confusing friendship for love, which is absolutely what I'd done. This other girl was just good fun. But I was lonely and lost, and fuck knows, Leeds was grim. I didn't even want to be there. And, you know, doing speed all the time, it leaves you hollow. And I felt out of place at the master's degree. There was no other working class people on that particular communist boot camp. And after that second phone call, I said, oh, it's all right, she's just a friend. I then moved house. And with that move went her telephone connection to my life. Just disappeared out of her life. Rung her back about 6 weeks later to sort of apologise and ask for some help and basically say, I'm so lost, can you come and save me? Got on the phone, lost my bottle, and I just went out of the other girl because she's better than you. Shit. The opposite of what I wanted to say. You know, how different my life would have been now if I'd have stayed with her, if I'd have just been honest. If I'd have had the balls to be honest and say, I'm lost. If you still have got any care for me, can you understand I've made a mistake and just come and get me? But no. Oh no, I've done the right thing. No. I think, I said it in the other video, I think I was just trying to, I thought if I said it, it would be real, like a spell. But it wasn't. And I had 2 years of hell with that new girl. She was fucking psychopathic, sociopathic, bulimic, violent, aggressive, nasty, selfish, self-obsessed, victimizing, evil woman. And I left her when I left Leeds. So see ya, bye. Thank fuck, get me out of it, get me home. And then began the stalking of my ex. Now, I have broken a smile then, and this was a long time ago. This is presented as a work of fiction. I don't want to get done here. And if you know the rest of my stories, for me to say that, oh, it's not looking good, is it? But it's the subtleties of this one that really does it. So this is pre-Facebook, but this is Friends Reunited is there. Oh, I'm online all night, just desperate for information. 192.com, I think it's still there, but in those days you'd get 5 free credits. Oh my God, use them wisely. Find out where she is, find out where she lives, find out what her new boyfriend's name is. Communicate with people in her social circles. You know, took me about 2 years to gather information. I mean, we had a few phone calls. At this point, she was still listening to me on the phone, and they were kind of emotional, 3 or 4 hour calls, but she wouldn't see me. I think she knew I could probably... I worry that she might be watching this. Hello, sorry. But I think she might have known that if she had have met... I mean, who gives someone 4 hours on the telephone if they've got nothing to say to them? But in person, it might have been too much for her. Maybe it would have just been too painful. There you go. Look at that classic me. Oh, yeah, she couldn't see me because she'd have fallen in love. No, it would have just fucking broken her heart all over again. Ouch. Soon enough, I realised she was with someone, and I meanwhile am plummeting into heroin addiction and all the rest of it. And I could not stop thinking about her, and getting back with her was going to put everything right. That was the nature of that obsession. That was the focus of it. That was what it offered. That was the promise. That's why. And again, you know, it wouldn't have done. You know, I left her. I fucked it up. What? I just wanted to go back in time. I wanted to go to a time before junk, before the torturous realities of my mid-20s, to those glorious first love days of my late teens. And it was never going to happen. But, oh, you can't tell someone full of heroin, Valium, skunk and crack that. Because they are living on fantasy. Because reality is vile. Reality isn't vile. That reality is vile. It's not a nice place to be. And, of course, then, you know, I hear that they're getting married and all this. Moving in together. Fucking heartbreaking stuff. I was alright when I was on top of life, but the minute there was a little crisis or a bit of maudlin or sort of a Sunday post-20 ecstasy binge, when I had no dopamine or serotonin to keep me above the plimsoll line, I would just sort of disappear into a pit of despair where only her wondrous beauty would save me. So I found out where she lived. Hang on, that didn't happen for a while. I knew she was in Maidstone, that's right. So what had happened was, if I come into a bit of money, if I'd have had a lucky few deals, I mean, you don't come into too much money, but I was still working for a little Dartford firm then, and the odd bit of business would come along my way. I mean, this is petty now compared with the drug dealing of my early career. Now I was just a junkie that you could use for the most tedious and risky jobs, like. I was given a sports bag once with like 15 kilos of soap bar hashish in it. Take it to Bridgeport. You know, that's a train into central London. Then a train 4 hours down to some God knows what arse end of beyond town. Sit in a pub. Man comes over, takes the bag, go home. But a monkey. Sweet. 500, I'll take it. I mean, I only needed a dog. Well, not a dog, a police sniffer dog in London or a search, and I didn't look great. You know, it wasn't like I had a suit on or anything. I looked like a drug addict carrying a bag of drugs, and that would have been me locked up for 500. Jesus. But then I've got £500 and it's Saturday morning. Sweet. So I remember the first time I got myself a couple of grams of cocaine in, well, an eighth, washed it up and had 3 grams of crack. And a 16th of heroin. And I thought, I'm going to go to Maidstone and find my first love. I mean, this is ridiculous. Got on the train at Dartford and I'm just buzzing. You know, I'm in this mad world of, you know, I'm a sick man indulging in the madness of his sickness. That's what it is. You know, what did I expect? This is key. What the fuck did I expect? Did I expect to sort of get down there, smoke a few pipes, smash a few speedballs in a hole in my leg, and then bump into her in the street? What was she going to do? Take me home and bathe me like Jesus? Hold me in her arms, look me in the eyes and say, "You're right, let's give it another go." I haven't seen you in 4 years. You're a complete mess. You stink of piss. You got more dirt under your fingernails than I got on my window ledge. Didn't stop me though. So I got on the train. And of course that train journey I used to do to go and see her in Chatham. Bit further though to Maidstone. And so it's already bringing it all up in me. And I think I've got the Smiths on my... I've got classic junkie. I had some DVD player or cassette, you know, it was just 20 years out of date. It wasn't like an iPod. It's actually loading vinyl into it. Little needle. And I got on the train, I've gone in the toilet and I've had a pipe. I've bashed some gear and I've come out and I'm sort of sitting there. I'm going to go to Maidstone and find the girl I love. And this bloke sits down with a carrier bag of like beer. Cans of beer, and he's an alcoholic, you can tell. I don't know, about the same age as me, broken, smashed up teeth, hanging eyes, and without saying a word to me, he's just peeled one out of the plastic and he's just sort of gestured at me, and it wasn't like, "Do you want a beer?" or anything. It was the old, "Here, son." Go on, son. As if, you know, "Oh no, it's alright." Yeah. And I've sort of got it, and it's warm, and it's Tenant Super Teas. If you want a Super Teas, go for it. Fucking horrible, like 11% syrup lager. I mean, it's vile stuff. I mean, when I used to drink that before, when I ended up drinking it a lot later on in my life, oh yeah, I developed that taste. I'd have to have like a pack of fruit pastels, and I'd be like, 3 fruit pastels, third of the tin. 3 fruit pastels, second, third, yeah. Finished. Pissed. If you drink a can of Super Tenants in 3 gulps, you know about it. Cool, so I've opened mine and I'm just sort of sniffing at it. Yeah, on the crack it's a bit He's not. Oh, he's got a fucking chamois leather out. He's cleaning, you know, he's got his own rituals. When I'm in the toilet fiddling around with my drugs, I'm doing my rituals, but to see someone else is ugly. I don't want to see it. He's cleaning that bit around the room. Pulled up the ring pull a little bit under there. Polishing it. Yeah, it's that action. It's not pleasant to watch. I'm just looking at him thinking, shit, man. You addicts are mental. And he's caught me looking at him and he went, yep. He went, you look after your beer. Your beer's going to look after you. Now I can't place that, but I think that comes from, you know, like a soldier, isn't it? Talking about keeping your gun clean, getting all the mud and shit out of your weapon. You look after your weapon. Fucking can of poison. Come on, mate. We had some weird conversation where what he said sort of ended here, what I said ended here. Neither met in the middle, neither passed. Just 2 addicts indulging themselves. Got down to Maidstone, just walking around. Now I'm just walking around, and it's a long way from home, really, long way from my house, and I'm fighting off the what the fuck am I doing here? I'm fighting that reality off, and to do that, I'm having to drink. So I'm buying beer, and I'm going up alleyways and smoking rocks, and the crack's getting smaller and smaller, and I'm shooting gear to calm me down after the near heart attack of the crack, and fucking hell. And then I went up to where we used to live, thinking, I mean, Maidstone's a big place, and I'm thinking maybe her and her new husband moved in around where I used to live. And also, it was just nice to be there. You know, again, I'm indulging, I'm swimming in nostalgia. I've gone up this little alleyway that allowed me to go to the back of my old house. I'm just looking at it, and I'm just remembering the times I had in there with her. You know, those piss poor, broke, no money times that they're golden moments, really. Beautiful times. Just this innocent young girl and all our dreams and our future that we used to talk about. And lovely. And looking at the house and just feeling it all washing over me. And I remember I ate a massive pipe because all those emotions, they're all good, but there's a kick in the tail if you struggle with that stuff. So I thought, fuck it, I need a wank. Crack can do that to me. Alright? I thought, I need a wank. I thought, I'll go and buy some porn. Now, you got to remember, I'm mental anyway as a baseline. I've been drinking a few cans of Super Teas. I've been injecting heroin and smoking crack, alright? And I'm going madder and madder. So I go into this little corner shop. There's some dear old lady behind the jump. I've just, all mental, just grabbed something. I don't know, something. I remember thinking this isn't what I want. I certainly don't want to communicate this to her. It was something like 40. I thought it was like 40 plus as in cup size 40 plus. But as I put it on the counter, it's women who are over 40. And judging by Mrs. Marple on the cover, it was over 40, approaching 60. And I was just like, shit. But I didn't, I was already shaking and all looking like a skeleton. I didn't want to go, oh, no, that's not the one I wanted. I put my hand in my pocket and just smashed all the coins and screwed up notes on the magazine. With that, though, has come the bag of crack, a bag of smack, a bit of hash, so I'm sort of scraping all that back in the pocket. Finally paid for that. Now the next bit's a bit of a blur, really. But I remember being in this little cave of bushes like, you know, surrounded, like a little camp. Like, you know, bushy. I was in some bushes. I'm an adult man in some bushes taking drugs, about to have a wank. Nice life. This is my day out. This is my weekend. Now I'm in there and I've got this magazine open. Now 40 plus, 60 minus, regardless, on the old crack, it doesn't really matter. Just give me some flesh, I'm mental. And I've got my trousers down and cock's not responding. It's kind of like that with the old cocktail of narcotics. So I'm just sort of jaffing away at fucking desperate. I mean, imagine she might have walked in on me then and it would have all been alright. This goes on for hours and I'm watching this lump of crack, this 3 grams. It's not working. That didn't start that big, but I'm showing you it in the macro. Just, you know. And I'm terrified because I know that when that gets to 0, I won't be able to hit enough smack to cushion the blow. I will be low. I will not have the serotonin in my head to stabilise me. I will feel desperate. And not only am I going to feel desperate, but I've got to feel desperate, come to terms with the fact that I've been laying in some bushes for 4 or 5 hours, wanking in my girlfriend's hometown. I've got to get an hour and a half's train home. Oh dear. So it's kind of getting frightening. It's that awful fear that, you know, I don't have to explain this, do I? Put yourself in that position. But the way I kept myself above emotionally disastrous water was disappearing. Most people use life to keep themselves on an even keel. When you use chemicals, you're in trouble because chemicals run out. Always run out. There's never enough drugs if you're an addict. When it finally ran out, I just was there. And I just remember looking at my trousers around my knees and all the sort of dirt and twigs and that was stuck to my hip. And my red, raw, soft penis. And this is the kicker. As I've had a bit of chance to step out of the bubble of addiction, to step out of the bubble of distraction that the crack and the wanking had provided me, I've realised that this little camp of bushes isn't as dense as I previously thought. I'm quite exposed in the kids' park that I'm in. I'm in a children's park. It's not a children's park, it's a park for kids. There's swings and slides about 100 metres away, which is fair enough a long way away, but there's people playing football and that, like young teens. I'm a man in a fucking... I'm in some bushes wanking, taking drugs. In a park. Yep. And so I had to, you know, it was like I'd seen it for the first time. That journey home wasn't that pleasant. I was like, this is who you are. That is what you do and this is who you are. Okay. So I didn't go down there for a while after that. Anyone still watching? Second time, I find out where she lives. I think I do. No, that's it, I do. I find out where she lives. Somehow, the internet's developed, communications are improving. I think I've spoken to her online. I rung her up from a rehab. I'm leaving the country. Oh, this is just the last time I ever wanted to speak to you. She was like, you said that all this before. You're just a bullshitter, attention-seeking idiot. Well, it has been said. So I go down there again. Same again. I'm just walking around out of my nut. It's exactly the same again. There's no bloke on the train wanking his beer, but I end up in Maidstone Saturday morning off my tits. And I go to the house that she lives in. I mean, to be fair, to this day, I'm not sure if it was her house, but I certainly thought it was. I had good reason. I had good information. Oh, my snitches were quality. Oh, yeah. So I've gone down there and I've knocked on the door. Imagine they were in. They weren't. But imagine they were in. This young couple. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm trying to put myself in his position, the new boyfriend. You got this lovely new girlfriend. Oh, and he had a lovely new girlfriend. The cunt. And the ex-boyfriend from fucking 5 or 6 years ago is knocking on the door out of his head. I just was nice to meet you. Can you imagine? I'm just there. Doof, doof, doof. Nothing. So I sit out the front. I think, they'll be home in a minute. Hopefully he won't be there. Hopefully she'll look at me and she'll say, oh, whatever happened to you, you need saving. You need loving. And I'm the girl to do it. I'll split up with him. All this fantasy, all this nonsense. What's she going to do? Take me in and bathe me like Jesus? All that again. At some point, I'll get hold of a few tinnies. I mean, look after your beer will look after you. And I'm smoking crack in the pavement. I think I even injected some smack outside her house in the middle of the day. Well, I know I did because I came round a few hours later. It's now dark. I'm under a street lamp. The house, there's now a car in the drive and there's lights on. So they've got home, they've driven in, they've seen me and gone in. He probably said, who's that? And she went, just my ex, leave him, probably die. But worse, I'm laying down in a pool of piss or beer or both and a couple of syringes. Me. Nice day out. And like I say, there's a few years... Fucking cars. There's a few years between that one and the first one. So, oh, come on. I said it the other night, didn't I? If I want this street clean, start making a video. You good with that? Thanks. This is who I am. That is what you do. This is what you've done before. You are still that person. You have not grown. You have gone backwards. You are deteriorating. Mate, I rung her up, I'd send her emails, I'd get her email. Sometimes I'd get on the internet at about 7 o'clock in the evening. I'd be on it till 7 in the morning. I got very, very good at finding information. Going through this, going through that, and then putting this part with this and this. Bang, 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 bang. And then I'd end up with a phone number or an email, and I'd email her, and she'd just like, how the fuck did you find my email? And, of course, I thought it'd be really clever to explain it to her. Well... what I done was, then I found him. I realised that he used to work here and you said that he worked there. And I saw that he was on your Facebook friends. And I thought maybe that girl who's got the same second name was his sister and she still works there in that shop. So when I rung them and asked if so-and-so was there, they put me onto her and I told her that I was your brother. So yeah, it took about 3 weeks, but I finally got your number. How are you? It didn't impress her. Of course, it terrified her. And very occasionally she'd respond to an email and she'd be like, I can't believe I'm going through all this again. I remember once she said, your addiction just defines you. And it's distressing and your frightening presence in my life. And can you please stop? It isn't what you want to hear. When you've built a big balloon of fantasy, that's a pin in the side of it. I remember my mate took me out to Venezuela. Naughty holiday, that was. Dangerous place, Venezuela. And I had to detox out there. And every night while he was asleep and I was just laying in bed, just fucking having a terrible time of it, all I kept doing was looping this thought of going to Maidstone and her welcoming me into her house and just giving me some attention. And that was going to make everything all right. And after 3 weeks detoxing out there, and it put me through hell. I was a lot younger though, like 30 or something. When we got back to Dartford, I said to him, this is a bloke who's just paid for me to go on holiday and paid for all our crack and alcohol while we were out there, which was a lot of money. When we got back, I said, mate, can you do us 50 quid so I can go to Maidstone? He gave me 50 quid. I bought some drugs and went to Maidstone. Walked around for about half hour and come home in bits. Yeah. So when I finally got clean for the first time, age 36, I remember someone saying to me, a good friend of mine now, he's become a good friend, he's 30 odd years clean, he said to me, you know what? I said, how do I make it up to her? The bullshit I've put her through. Not just when I was with her, but I've had girls stalk me since. I've had girls be like this with me, and it's frightening, it's annoying, it's frustrating. You know that you're just the object of an obsession rather than anything actually to do with you. You're just a plaything in someone's mad, mad world. And I said to him, how do I make it up to her? What do I do? And he said, well, You want to go and talk to her. He said, but what you do to make it up for is stay the fuck away from her and her life and never talk to her again. Which I did. For a few years. We have exchanged some pleasantries on Facebook. She refuses to follow me. I put in a request one drunk night. But we have exchanged some pleasantries. And after I was stalked by an ex, I wrote to her and I said, I've just had my first ever stalking experience. My first proper one. I'd had a few girls a bit obsessed with me, but this was a proper, would not leave me alone, and, you know, threats, getting, you know, it was just, whoa. And I said to her, I said, I for the first time realised how frightening it is and how unnecessary it is. And I really apologise. And she wrote back and she was like, I appreciate that, thank you. And I have, you know, I don't hassle her. I mean, something will come up, maybe I'll see a video, I'll find something when I'm in the loft at my mother's house. That's the attic, it's the Americans. That was something we'd done together, and I'll photograph it and just send it to her. Or I found a video of the Stone Roses doing Waterfall now, like a load of old granddads doing it, and that song come out when we were together at 16, and I sent her that, like, ever felt old? And she'd write back and she'd be like, oh my gosh, we were kids. And I just leave it at that. I don't expect anything out of her. I certainly don't expect her to bathe me. But yeah, I mean, this is what a lot of people don't realise about addiction, that all that is part of it. That's part of addiction. The drug use is a minor inconvenience compared with the dramas and the obsessions and the lack of ability to control, the lack of ability to let go, and the need to control. I just thought I'd tell you that tonight. There'll be an update about Dangerfield's Chinese prescription soon. Come and say hello. I might like you. I might come to your hometown with some crack. Have a good weekend.